so pissed. They're like, what's wrong? Why isn't she moving? And I told them, I said, well, maybe it's because you haven't been naughty, which is a lie, but she has nothing to go back and report to Santa.
We don't do it because we feel like it's part of normalizing the surveillance state. Anyway, it's Podrzebie, the non-denominational holiday special that dares to ask, what, me marry? I'm your idiot, Kyle Bridget, and with me, your co-idiot,
Patty McInerney. Hey, Kyle.
Yes?
Real quick, I got something to say. What is that? A craw in my...
Dad. You got a craw on your dad.
Anyway, no, I got something's pissing me off, Kyle.
What's that?
It's not non-denominational. Denominational.
No denominations. No denominations.
Yeah, but it is a denomination of Jesus.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's the reason why we have Christmas is Jesus.
You want to make this about Jesus? You pick one denomination, you want to make it about Jesus?
Yeah.
You know, canonically, he's a baby at this point.
Canonically, he's like 2,032 years old.
No, but for the Christmas story, he's like 2,000 seconds old, and he's pooping all over some hay.
Hold on, 2,000 seconds? That's like a lot of seconds.
Let's take it 200 seconds.
Okay, all right, yeah. Well, that's the whole reason we have this season, Kyle, is because of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior.
All right, Jesus Christ. All right, well, tell you what. I did say no denominations. So we can have one. So it's Podrzebie, the non-denominational Jesus Christ holiday special.
Yeah, but what about the Holy Family, dude? Like Virgin Mary, Joseph.
Fuck off. We're not doing this. No way. I gave you one. Jesus Christ.
Not this is a family show. Bing bong. Welcome to the Tasteful News Department.
That's right. We've got some tasteful news, which is that we're collapsing the Podrzebie YouTube channel into my own channel. It's a coup.
It's a hostile takeover. That's exactly what it is.
I'm doing a coup. Basically, just my channel's 20 times bigger than the Podrzebie channel. The content's not so different. People are confused. When I talk to people doing interviews, they say, like, I want to be on the bigger channel. And also, then I can make more Podrzebie videos and content without having to kind of sacrifice my own channel.
Yeah.
So, maybe my video this week is a Podrzebie video. And hopefully this can be a path back to regular Podrzebie episodes at some point in 2025.
Yeah, I think my only concern, as I expressed earlier, is... financial, Kyle.
Is the money. All right, we'll split the money. We'll split the money. I don't think any of the Podrzebie content is going to be monetizable anyway.
Too sexy.
Too much copyrighted sound effects. Every time that comes up, we
stop using it.
I can't. It's branded now. It's part of our soul. No, but if we reach a certain threshold of money at some point, we will split it amicably. I've said it here on the episode, and I probably won't be editing it out.
You're just going to edit something else in. You're not going to edit it out.
I'll edit you in, spliced in, saying like...
I give up any claim to Podrzebie.
So that's all the news in the buff.
When a gal bites man, it is page one news. I got the Christmas blues.
It's time, new and again, to probe the future schlock department with that trans-temporal horoscopist, the slow poisoner.
Hello, friends. I'm the Slow Poisoner. Like you, I am interested in the future. Unlike you, I have been there. And what does the future hold in store for us? Peering into my crystal casket to prognosticate, let's look forward towards the end of this year as a contentious presidential election cycle finally nears its inescapable conclusion. In another political nail-biter down the road, the hard-fought battle for 2028's Precinct Committee councilperson of Belton, Missouri, ends in a victory for former shoe fitter Federidge Harmlingoofen. His opponent, local tent pole engineer Christola Brugberg, is spied consorting with crustless toasts in the abdomen of a floundering gas bag, deployed surreptitiously under cover of yellowtude. The papers have no end of it. Come the next millennium, ideas will have replaced people as the subject of nationwide 4-year elections, and eventually in 4638, a weary America finally votes for sleep. In less distant and less political news, 2031 brings a sharp spike in dandelion attacks in the northeastern Asian region. Hundreds die before these snazzily dressed kings of the jungle revert back to their former grunge styles and are dandelions no more. And that, my friends, is what the future holds in store for us for now.
Welcome now to the Panicsmas department.
That's right. This isn't a podcast. It's a panic.
Cast.
Yeah. We're doing the first issue of Panic because it's a Christmas magazine and we haven't really talked about Panic, the other EC comedy mag.
Yeah, the only, what is it? Like the only approved mad imitation.
It's the authorized imitation.
The authorized imitation. And I'll tell you what, looking at the cover of this, Panic #1.
We'll talk about the cover more in a second, but if you have something broadly about Panic to talk about.
I do have something kind of broadly. No wonder Harvey Kurtzman fucking hated this comic.
Oh my God, yeah. I have something to say about that in a minute too.
Yeah, Panic. I don't think Panic was ever on my radar.
Okay.
Not until I started getting really into Mad, as in like going through and learning about the history of Mad. And then that led me down the path of like other EC comics, which brought me to Panic, which was a little bit of a surprise to learn about.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to interrogate you more about that in a minute, because at first I want to give kind of a background of what Panic is for our listeners who are not, mad brained. In 1952, EC Comics publisher William Gaines published the groundbreaking satirical comic book Tales Calculated to Drive You Mad, written by Harvey Kurtzman with art by Jack Davis, Wally Wood, Will Elder, and some others. The comic was so successful that it spawned a whole genre of lampoon comics imitating Mad, including Get Lost, Whack, Crazy, Nuts, and more. And incidentally, if you're interested in those in this topic, which is dear to my heart, you can track down the collection, which is called The Sincerest Form of Parody from Fantagraphics in 2012. Do you have that book?
No. What was the other one? I thought you were going to say Behaving Madly.
Behaving Madly is about imitators of Mad magazine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what is the one you just said? Didn't you just say that?
No, I said The Sincerest Form of Parody.
I know, but what is that book about?
Oh, that book is about imitators of Mad, the comic book. So it's like Whack, Get Lost, Nuts.
Yeah.
Whereas like Behaving Madly, I don't think Cracked is in there, but like Cracked.
Yeah.
Crazy, the other Crazy.
Nuts?
The later Nuts, the other Nuts. Yeah, but magazine. So the comic Mad was so successful, it spawned this genre. And William Gaines was looking at the market and saying, if it can handle all these damn Mad knockoffs, he might as well put out his own, despite Kurtzman's protests. So in 1954, he released the only authorized imitation of Tales Calculated to Drive You Mad. This is no magazine. This is a Panic. And instead of humor in a jugular vein, it was humor in a varicose vein. And instead of genius idiot Harvey Kurtzman at the helm, Panic was run by regular idiot Al Feldstein.
I was about to say that. Just a plain old idiot. That's who Panic got.
Listen, Al Feldstein, he later went on to be like the editor of Mad Magazine for like most of its run. So
Yeah.
He's definitely a regular idiot, a bona fide regular idiot.
He is. Yeah. And I mean, like, listen, not to besmirch the guy, but it's like, you know, a mid artist, real mid-tier artist, mid-tier writer. Puts together a decent magazine, though. That, like, you have to hand him that.
Did you see on Facebook a few weeks ago, Noah Van Sciver was talking smack about Al Feldstein not being funny?
No, I didn't.
It's pretty good.
Oh, I better check that out. I want to reach out to him. I haven't like chatted with him in quite a while.
Well, he still exists.
Good.
Anyway, Panic lasted 12 issues before, like all EC publications except for Mad, being done in by the Comics Code Authority in 1956. Notably, Harvey Kurtzman was not happy about Panic, saying, "I was pretty bitter about it. Gaines, by some convoluted reasoning, decided to double the profit of Mad by doing a Feldstein version of Mad, and he just plundered all of my techniques and artists, and he described the situation as a real conflict of interests." But Gaines' attitude was more like, "You don't own Mad, I own Mad." So if I can do The Vault of Horror and Tales from the Crypt, I can do Mad and I can do Panic.
Yeah, can we talk about the cover yet?
No, I want to talk about our feelings first. Our feelings about Panic. So, but you've told me yours is that you just kind of encountered it later when you started digging more into the history of Mad.
Yes.
How old would you have been when that was going on?
Well into adulthood. Like, honestly, like probably 5 years ago. I'm not kidding, because like my whole world of Mad was just the magazine. Like I had this, I knew that there was the comic before. I was familiar with like Tales of the Crypt.
Tales from the Crypt.
Tales from the Crypt and Vault of Horror.
Tales of the Crypt.
Whatever, Jesus.
Of the Crypt, by the Crypt, and for the Crypt.
But I didn't read EC comics. I just like kind of knew they existed. I read mainstream superhero comics by DC and Marvel, and then Mad Magazine.
Okay.
Which I just had my collection from childhood, that like part of it was mine, part of it was my uncle's, part of it was my brother's. Yeah, so it wasn't until like really the YouTube video that I started like learning about EC comics as a whole and appreciating it quite a bit.
So what did you think when you heard about Panic?
Having learned about it as an adult, I was like protective of old Harvey. And so I like, part of it was like, this doesn't look right. It seems like everything is kind of a knockoff of it.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned, the humor in a varicose vein.
Yeah.
The lettering is like stylistically pretty similar. It's just like sort of tick-tocked and like off kilter a little bit. Looking at it now, it's like, well, this is clearly a ripoff, a knockoff of it. If I would have seen it as a kid, I probably would have thought, oh, cool. Thought nothing of it.
Yeah. Well, I grew up fascinated by Panic. I sort of learned about it when I sort of became more scholarly about Mad, but that happened to me in like, you know, my early teen years.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew about it, but it was rarely reprinted. And I really only ever saw bits and pieces of it here and there. And so I was really fascinated with it because it was like, oh, this thing. And I knew about like how the first issue was really controversial. I think from the Marie Radelbach Mad History of Mad book, the coffee table book.
Yeah.
So I was always really fascinated with it, but it's rarely reprinted. And then just a few years ago, I purchased the complete Panic EC Archives by Dark Horse, and it's bullshit, basically. The printing is terrible. It's digitally recolored on glossy paper. It takes away from the original artwork, and it kind of soured my opinion on it. Like, I always knew it was not as good as Mad, but I'd kind of only seen the best of Panic along the way, just because it was reprinted just in bits here and there. And even setting aside the shitty printing, it's not as good as Mad. Even though it's the same artist, other than Elder, they all seem to be phoning it in. And where something like Get Lost or Cracked later were not as good as Mad, they were different enough that they had their own voice and something different to offer. But like Panic was a pure simulacra of Mad. You know, it's just a cheap imitation of the original. Like it's like you ordered Tails Calculator to Drive You Mad from Temu or something, you know? But that said, the first issue is pretty good, actually. And also it was very controversial and sort of infamous. So, and I think we can kind of discuss that element of it sort of after we go through this book. So I do want to talk about the cover and then one particular article.
All right.
So now we can talk about the cover.
All right. Well, I mean, like my first reaction, I've seen this cover before, but reading through this with the idea of commentating on it, my first thought was like, no wonder Harvey hated this.
Yeah.
Right at the top. First, for Schluggener issue, humor in a varicose vein. Two things right off the bat that they're totally aping from Harvey Kurtzman and his writing.
Well, did you notice Al Feldstein's signature?
Oh my God.
Yeah. That would be so irritating, eh? So Harvey Kurtzman famously signs H. Kurtz and then like a little stick man for Kurtzman.
Yeah.
E.C. Segar would do that. He'd sign E.C. and then a cigar.
Yeah.
But Al Feldstein has signed A. Feld and then a stein of beer.
That, I mean, like that had to have been, because I mentioned they talked about it. Kurtzman was like, I don't like the idea of a panic copy of my magazine. And Feldstein was just like, all right, fuck you. I'm taking it all. Taking your signature too.
I don't know. I've never really heard what Al Feldstein thought about Kurtzman. Usually here it's like Gaines versus Kurtzman.
Yeah.
And Gaines likes Kurtzman, but he's also infuriated because like Kurtzman is like such an artist that he's like so invested in the things that he's doing, you know?
Yeah. In
a way that most cartoonists of the time would not have been. And the image on this cover, it's like a little fucking shitty boy. I don't know what it's called. He's got like a little like jerk off fucking asshole face.
Yeah.
And Santa's coming down the chimney and this kid set up a big bear trap for him.
Yeah. Well, this kid, like, I think this kid appears on a lot of the covers of Panic.
Does he?
I think so. I think like Panic #2, he's on it. Or it's just Feldstein only knows how to draw one kid.
No, he can draw other kids. Have you ever seen any of his, he did a bunch of like kind of cheesecake girly comics in the, like teen comics, but where it's all about the ladies. Like he did Sunny was one.
I think we looked through some of them on a live stream once.
Okay. He's a real thing for the way he depicts boobs and sweaters. It's like inexplicable. It's uncanny. All right. So this cover is basically burned into my memory. This is the thing I'd see more than anything about Panic. And I think this is pretty good, you know? It's pretty spooky. I don't think Panic quite reaches the heights of this first issue.
And no, but I mean, like, this is the thing is Harvey Kurtzman, if you know about him, like he was really good at visuals. He would lay out everything. And I don't like, there's something about this cover that just doesn't work. I think it's like the way that like, you know, even the fireplace is like partially cut off in kind of a weird way. You have the what is that? The Christmas tree. How big is that Christmas tree? It's minuscule.
Well, it goes off the page though. So you don't know. It could be quite tall.
I know, but if you're looking at it to the scale of the child and the fireplace, it's off. The whole thing is off.
I don't think the scale is as big a problem for me. I think it's fine.
Well, my point is, with Harvey Kurtzman, it would have been no problem whatsoever.
Well, Harvey Kurtzman adds something special. And the other people who do covers like Jack Davis and Will Elder, it's like they're all kick-ass.
Well, that's kind of my point, is that like Al Feldstein is just not that.
No, I concede that. I concede that point. But I think compared to some other, like a lot of the other comics at the time, which were very hacky, maybe not for EC so much, you know, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. And I think it's kind of shocking, I think, at the time. Like, it's very violent. And also Santa's like was a more revered figure at the time. So I think it has something interesting going for it.
Yeah. Like the FBI and the evening news, Santa was something that you respected.
Yeah. We're mainly looking at the last story in this book.
Yes.
Which is a retelling of, and not even really a retelling of, an illustrating of The Night Before Christmas, which was originally published, the poem anonymously as A Visit from St. Nicholas in 1823. It was later attributed to Clement Clark Moore in 1837, but he just said I did it. And some people say it was another guy. It's really famous. Like, you know it probably. Most people know it. Probably sections of it by heart. And it really sort of set up the early sort of Santa mythos. And it's quite good, I think, in part because of its use of anapestic tetrameter.
Yes.
Where each line employs 4 sets of 2 unstressed syllables and 1 stressed. So it's da-da-dum, 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 which is like the structure that Dr. Seuss used a lot.
Yeah.
And it's got a good beat. Like it's fun to read. Like, even though I always think of it as kind of hokey, when I sit down to read it, I'm like, this is pretty good. I like this poem.
Absolutely. I have nothing to add.
Okay. I just wanted to give a bit of that. Do you want to read the introduction there?
Poetry department. Seasonal division. Hear the bells, kiddies? The tinkling of tinsel? The carols echoing in the cold night? Yup, it's the Xmas season again. It means ribbons and gay wrappings and presents for everybody and bills from everybody. And it means you'll be hearing that poem again, over and over and over again, till you can scream that perennial favorite, The Night Before Christmas.
Yes. Only the first couple lines are on the first page, but it opens with this image inside like the freezer of a slaughterhouse.
Yeah.
And it says, this poem was slaughtered by Bull Elder. And it holds the slaughter theme pretty strong for this whole first page.
Yeah, inexplicably. Well, no, not explicably. He's butchering this poem, but
there's another reason, because there's not a creature stirring, because they're all dead.
So very explicably, but it's shocking. It's like a surprising start for The Night Before Christmas.
Yeah, it's very horrifying. And some of the stuff in here, some of the chicken fat in here, like there's like a jar of housemaids' knees.
Yeah.
It, like literally the knees of maids. You can see them. Well, there's also a box of lady fingers, and there's like literally fingers pouring out of it.
Yeah, and then like, I don't know, for some reason this stewed lamb, it's like a little, baby sheep.
The stewed lamb's drunk, yeah.
Oh my God. I don't know why, but it's like a little creepy to me.
Because its tongue's hanging out. It's because it's animated and has a head. Everything else here kind of has its head removed.
Well, and it's, you know what? It's the one living thing in the whole place.
That's true. But it's pretty stewed. Its bottle has XXX. Which is shocking, right? Like, that's shocking to have, like, booze in a baby bottle in a kid's comic.
Yeah.
Essentially, ostensibly. So let's read these first 2 lines here. You can read them.
'Twas the night before Christmas, when all through the house not a creature was stirring, not even a mouse.
And the mouse is right there in the second panel.
Yeah. Portermouth steak. I love that.
That's a good little gig. Or gag.
Yeah.
He's pushing the brand here. Like, he's got, like, falling out of a kangaroo that's hanging upside down, a pocket edition of Panic.
Yeah. And then the poster across from that, now playing Dial P for Panic at the Jumbutt Theater.
A lot of the little details I really like, how he's got like a rhinoceros hanging there, but then just like a steak, like a full like T-bone steak or whatever has just been stabbed through his horn, is hanging off of his horn.
Yeah.
And something I also like is the shadows, just like stylistically, the shadows in the second panel, like behind the mouse.
Yes.
And behind the tongues that are stuck on a tree.
Yeah. Wait, what does that say? Each coat on every tongue dry cleaned free. That surely meant something in the 1950s.
Had to be shoes or something.
Yeah.
Although, actually, if you've ever eaten tongue, like beef tongue.
Yeah.
You cook it and you kind of have to peel it.
I've never cooked it myself. You can get it at Mexican places.
Yeah, like they actually like peel the tongue.
Oh, God, like that gesture you made while you said that was a little off-putting.
You know what? That was told to me by a 60-year-old bald S&M lesbian with like lots of piercings.
Yeah.
When I was sort of trapped in her car for a long drive. And it's stuck in my mind almost as much as I used to be terrified of the beef tongue at the grocery store when I would see it.
Oh, my God. Well, I kind of want to hear that story about this road trip with the BDSM lesbian.
I'll save that for Podrzebie After Hours.
The Podrzebie Easter special.
But that was the moment in that car ride where I was like, I really hope I'm going where I'm supposed to be going right now.
The stockings were hung by the chimney with care, in hopes that St. Nicholas soon would be there. The children were nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of sugar plums danced in their heads.
Yeah, so I love the color on this second page.
Yeah.
It makes me, again, lament that I own the Dark Horse EC Archives edition, which looks like bullshit.
Who put out that? Okay, this is my question, because going through this, I noticed that they had Russ Cochran and Steve Jeppy. This is separate. This isn't the Dark Horse one. This is the Gemstone one.
This is whichever one they were putting out in the early 2000s. They did a whole bunch of EC books. They'd be printed kind of perfect bound.
Okay.
Usually. This one might not be that, but I think it's one of those ones. And they would have like 2 or 3 issues in it, usually.
Okay.
And those were really nice. Like, that's what I would like panic in whatever that kind of edition, trade paperback edition was.
Yeah.
I would trade. If I could get a few issues of this in that kind of trade paperback, I would sell my Panic archives. Although I would feel bad selling them to someone because, like I said, they're bullshit.
Yeah.
So we got the stockings hung by the chimney with care. There's all kinds of stockings here, including the Boston Red Sox.
Mm-hmm. The White Sox.
Yeah, and then there's a peg leg and like a wooden leg with a garter belt on it.
Yeah, it's not just a fake leg, it's a sexy lady leg.
And then the bear trap is there, so I wonder which came first, this or the cover. And then I like in the fireplace, there's like a chair on fire.
I just noticed that, but I also just noticed there's a bathtub hanging, and you see footprints and then ass prints.
That's good. I think because this is just Will Elder, he's just taking the poem and illustrating it. Mm-hmm. He's not being directed. And he's a little naughty.
Yes. Yeah, he is. He was being reined in a little bit by Kurtzman, maybe.
Maybe, although Mad's pretty cheeky too. But I feel like he's a little bit more cheeky here.
Yeah.
Because he's coming up with these himself. So it's his sense of humor, which is slightly different than Kurtzman's. So I think that's kind of the thing. Okay. And then in the next panel, we have like the beds. I like how it's like a bunk beds that go up. There's a hole in the ceiling. So they keep going up to the next floor. And they're all beds of nails. There's
even a fireman's pole next to them.
That's cool. And there's like a bat flying and like someone's tied a string to the bat and it's like a kite.
Yeah.
And there's flying shoes.
You have like the panels, like these first 3 panels that are like weird. And then you have a lot of stuff in here that's just silly. Like the bat on a string or the flying shoe or all of the socks hanging above the fireplace.
I also like there's like a gorilla arm, or like an orangutan arm hanging down over one of the beds.
Oh, I thought that was the dog.
Well, no, because that's the next floor. And there's like where the gorilla arm is hanging down, there's like a kid in glasses, like, be like, what? What is that there? And then with the sugar plums dancing in their heads, they've all got different sugar plums. Sexy ladies, yeah. Basically. Except for the dog who's imagining a tree to pee on.
Yeah. Marilyn Monroe, Jane Russell, and then the old crone.
The old witch.
The old witch. There's the other thing on this is, did they do this in the Mad comics? I don't remember this as much, like being like the company men and being, free lifetime subscription to EC Comics.
Yeah, they would do that sometimes. Not as much as, far as this.
It seems like a lot in here. Yeah,
usually be for Mad, but sometimes EC. Maybe you'd get an occasional like Tales from the Crypt or something reference.
Yeah.
But yeah, here it's all Panic and EC. But I like that.
And Mama in her kerchief and I in my cap had just settled down to a long winter's nap.
I like that her kerchief makes her like an Arabian woman. She's taken the veil.
Yeah. And his cap is the nightcap.
Yeah. And then he's also got the little like, what do you call that? Like the cabbie's cap or whatever.
Yeah, like a flat cap, newsboy cap.
And I like all the bottles in the bed. Like he's got bottles sticking up behind his pillow, between his feet. And he's a fun character too, because he's got this big curly mustache.
Yes. Well, he gets even better and better as the comic goes on.
All right. Well, let's go on and see what happens.
All right. When out on the lawn there arose such a clatter, I sprang from my bed to see what was the matter. Away to the window I flew like a flash, tore open the shutters, and threw up the sash.
All right. So he's like flying off of the planet, and what's he saying?
By Jove, I'm breaking through the clatter barrier.
I don't even know what that means.
Like the sound barrier.
Really? That's what that means?
Yeah, because who was that guy who broke the sound barrier? He's very well known.
Maybe that had just happened?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I'm going to look it up. I'm sorry.
There's one constellation, and it's the Milky Way, which is, I guess, a galaxy, actually.
Yeah.
And there's like a ladle pouring liquid into like a bottle, the sun and the stars. And then in the next panel, he's like tearing open the shutters, and they're like shattering. And there's another dog sleeping here. A lot of dogs in this house.
Yeah, a lot of sleepy dogs.
But it's appropriate because there's carolers out there singing, "How much is that doggy in the window?" Which would have been not too old a song then. Like now, that's a song that seems impossibly old.
Yeah.
But at the time, that would have been like still a somewhat popular song that you could get on a record.
I didn't even consider that.
Yeah.
But that's probably right.
Yeah.
People were like, damn.
Yeah.
That's timely.
It's become like a lullaby almost, but it was like a popular song.
Oh, Jaeger. That's what his name was. That was the guy who broke the sound barrier for the first time.
With the Jaeger bomb.
I think it was something Jaeger. Pete Jaeger? No.
Pete Jaeger. He's the one who did Little Boxes.
It was Chuck Jaeger. And that was in 1947. I was really fixated on that. I'm sorry.
Okay, well, you could be forgiven. It's the non-denominational Jesus Christ holiday special. So we're all a little excited.
Here, edit this in. Edit this into the previous thing when you bring up, what's the clatter barrier? Well, Kyle, the clatter barrier is in reference to when Chuck Yeager broke the sound barrier in 1947 using the bell.
Or I could just edit you in not saying all that stuff.
The moon on the breast of the new fallen snow gave a luster of midday to objects below. When what to my wondering eyes should appear but a miniature sleigh and 8 tiny reindeer, with a little old driver so lively and quick, I knew in a moment it must be Saint Nick.
So I have to commend Elder for his restraint in literally drawing the moon on the breast of the new fallen snow, but not making a breast of it. You know what I mean? I bet there's an earlier version with a nipple.
Yeah, with the moon with a big old areola.
Yeah, or like it's like a snow woman or something.
Yeah, and you have the old man looking at this moon on the snow with a bottle of moonshine that he's pouring out.
I like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And then when Santa shows up in his his sleigh's like a Cadillac or something.
Yeah.
Or at least one of those those 50s cars with the big spoilers.
No, that is exactly a Cadillac, I think.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Perfect. But the tires have been removed and skis installed, and it's tiny. It's like flying past his nose. And all the reindeers have hats on their antlers for some reason.
I was just trying to think about why that would be. I guess like a hat rack.
Yeah, I guess that's just it. More people hunted then.
My favorite part, though, is this, he has like this like big face that's filling the panel, and he has like the little buck teeth poking through his mustache, and he's just like looking cross-eyed and this flop sweat dripping off of him.
Yeah, he has the cadence of like an upper-class British twit, like he looks like a guy that like an American would think was some sort of classy British guy, but a British guy would think would be a dunce, like a boob.
Yeah. More rapid than eagles, his coursers they came, and he whistled and shouted and called them by name. Now Dasher, now Dancer, now Prancer and Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Donner, on Blitzen. To the top of the porch, to the top of the wall, now dash away, dash away, dash away all.
And he's got them all illustrated. Not all of them, because I think there's some that are on a panel, but Dasher's like a racer, and Dancer's like a ballerina. Vixen's like a horse.
No, that's like Prancer.
Prancer. Vixen's a lady.
Who's smoking.
Yeah. And Cupid's there. There's a comet. I guess the storm is Blitzen.
Yeah, but who's Donner?
I guess there's no Donner.
Yeah.
The Donner party probably are eating each other in the where in the bottom.
It's implied, yeah.
I didn't mention the last panel, but Santa's got like a space helmet on.
Yeah.
But also there's fish swimming around in it. And but this is important for later. He's got just divorced on the back of his car, and then there's like, instead of cans, there's like a hubcap and a knife and a hatchet.
Yeah.
And his whip for the horses has like fish hooks on it.
Yeah, with some nasty barbs, too. He is not catch and release. As dry leaves that before the hurricane fly, when they meet with an obstacle, mount to the sky. And this is just like, I don't know, some like wild panel, like Twister.
Yeah, it's just random things.
What's that movie about that's like Twister, but it's came way before it?
Wizard of Oz.
Yes. That's exactly what I was thinking, yeah. And all the shit that's flying in the, yeah.
It's exactly like Twister, the exact same plot. In fact, Twister was a remake of Wizard of Oz.
You knew what I was talking about, Kyle.
I knew. I knew either you were talking about Wizard of Oz or it would be a good joke. And there's just random stuff flying. So there's like a dowager or like an opera singer, and there's like a steamroller.
Yeah, the cop.
There's like a hat flying, but also like someone's toupee and their eyebrows. They must have had alopecia. Oh, and a monocle.
I don't get the next panel, though, where Santa is holding like paper reindeer.
When they meet an obstacle, mount in the sky. Yeah, I don't know. I do love that panel, though.
Yeah.
With Santa with like the paper cutout reindeer.
Yeah, I just don't understand it.
I guess they're like dry leaves, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
He's lost his helmet, though. Poor guy.
You know, I've never actually thought about this panel any deeper. Like now that you bring it up, it doesn't really, I'm not sure what they're going for. But I do love that panel. I've used it in videos, like other videos when I've had to like refer to Santa. That's the panel I've taken.
Yeah.
So interesting.
So up to the housetop the coursers they flew, with a sleigh full of toys, and St. Nicholas, too. And then in a twinkle I heard on the roof the prancing and pawing of each little hoof.
I don't have too much to say about this one, but I like how he's caught up in all the antennas on the roof. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been a very 1950s observation, I think.
Yeah, yeah. But before that, there's an outhouse with a sign in the front, which I am amused by. Occupancy of more than 89 people, 11 midgets, and 2 children is unlawful and dangerous. Sanitary clause.
That's pretty good. Until you read the sanitary clause, I thought maybe he just likes this for the slur.
Yeah, that's what I found funny was the word midget.
Well, if you like that, you're going to like a panel 2 panels from now. So let's read the next 2 panels.
Oh, don't put that on me. As I drew in my head and was turning around, down the chimney St. Nicholas came with a bound. He was dressed all in fur, from his head to his foot, and his clothes were all tarnished with ashes and soot.
So in the first of these 2 panels, I like where the guy's head's ducking down into his pajamas. And the butt of his pajamas has fallen open. Santa's like bouncing around.
One of the things that I appreciate about this, and I mean, it's Bill Elder, despite it being in Panic. This is great art. It's funny. That little butt flap, the poop flap on the Union suit, It always says different things.
I also like how there's all the coins and money coming in, like where Santa's singing a song, which we'll talk about in a second. But one of the things thrown is just a piggy bank.
Yeah.
And what's Santa singing? He's all covered in ashes and soot.
He's singing about his mother, somebody's mother, I don't know. Kyle, why don't you sing it?
It's Mammy. Yeah, I don't know what's he doing, like the Al Jolson thing here.
Yeah. Do you remember in there's this movie Boys Town with Spencer Tracy and Mickey Rooney, and there's a scene in it where it's like Mickey Rooney sees a statue and he gets down on one knee just like this and he goes, "Mommy, mommy." And that was
Bugs Bunny would do that all the time too. Like it was a common kind of trope at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was my first exposure to it. Well, surely I've seen Bugs Bunny do it, but it didn't click until then. And my dad was like, just don't repeat that. I was like, all right.
Yeah, that joke's it's not so fresh anymore.
No. A bundle of toys he had flung on his back, and he looked like a peddler just opening his pack. His eyes, how they twinkled, his dimples, how merry. His cheeks were like roses, his nose like a cherry. His droll little mouth was drawn up like a bow, and the beard on his chin was as white as the snow. The stump of a pipe he held tight in his teeth, and the smoke it encircled his head like a wreath.
Yeah, a lot of just like literal interpretations of these panels.
Yeah.
But lots of chicken fat. I like particularly his dimples are drawn in a very like a way that's kind of uncomfortable to look at. Like they're really deep. They're like belly buttons.
Yeah, it's pretty off-putting. What you were saying about like how literal all of these drawings were.
Yeah.
I would say like this is like kind of like the least fun page of the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's little moments in this that you can really get into.
Yeah. Some
fun fish jokes, you know, because when he's looked like a peddler, he's like a fishmonger.
You love those fish jokes.
I do. Well, you know, I'm out here, we got a lot of fishermen bite. And then I do like he's reading a book that's from her to fraternity.
Hubba hubba.
Which is it's a pretty dirty joke, I think. Instead of from here to eternity.
Yeah.
But that's the main thing. There's also a box of scorpions, like in the one panel just opening up. That's kind of funny. And like a tarantula crawling.
Yeah, junior counterfeiting printing press.
Like if this wasn't in the 1950s, you would think that this was a Home Alone gag or something.
Yeah, he's at the McAllisters.
All right, well, let's keep moving.
He had a broad face and a little round belly that shook when he laughed like a bowl full of jelly. He was chubby and plump, a right jolly old elf, and I laughed when I saw him in spite of myself.
He's definitely got a wide face and a jelly belly. It's kind of a weird picture.
Very weird perspective, or I don't even know how you describe it, but he's also eating his own belly.
Yeah, and he's reading Panic's report on Dr. Kinsey.
Yeah, who's Dr. Kinsey? Is that like the child development thing?
Yeah, it's like the sex book that he wrote, like the big book on like sex. He did like a huge survey on sex, the Kinsey report, and it was like a big deal at the time.
Oh, okay.
And then it's also got an Xmas seal, like a seal with like a banner on it that says Xmas seal.
Oh,
I think that's a Mad cover at one point in like the 70s or 60s.
I mean, that's something that just they don't have anymore, like Goodwill. Do you guys have Goodwill up in Canada?
Yeah, we have something similar.
Yeah, but it was called Goodwill Easter Seals. And I think it was some type of fundraising thing that nobody does anymore.
Did they have Christmas seals too, I guess?
Well, that's the joke there.
Oh, the joke is that it's Xmas seal, not an Easter seal.
Yeah.
There's also a sign that says, which one has the Tony?
What the hell does that mean?
I have no idea. Tony spelled Toni. And if anyone out there watching or listening knows what that means, let me know, because I'm very confused.
Yeah. A wink of his eye and a twist of his head soon gave me to know I had nothing to dread.
Like he's actually like wrestling Santa on the mat.
Yeah.
Matt like twisting his head.
And they both have like Speedos on with like different animal prints.
Yeah. I like his little knee pads, his like saggy little knee
No,
pads.
the best are the little the little bracelets that Santa has that are like his jacket, the little white fur.
That's good too. I like that. And this guy, he's had that thing on his feet, like the sock cover, whatever it is, like the old timey shook.
The spat.
Yeah, the spat. He's had that on his foot since the beginning. And the kid singing "I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus," which again must have been from then. Most of the famous Christmas songs come from the 50s and 60s. So
yeah. He spoke not a word, but went straight to his work and filled all the stockings, then turned with a jerk.
Can you tell what's going on there?
Yes.
Took me a second.
Yeah, you can see Santa spinning around, turning, and in his arms is Bill Elder, humorist and boy.
I should add that to my business cards.
The artist and boy.
Cartoonist, illustrator, educator, and boy. But he's the jerk. Yeah. So I did like that. Also, the stockings are like stuffed full and there's like steam shooting out of them.
Yeah, well, I wondered if those were like what are those called? Water bags? What are those?
Oh, maybe.
Anyway, yeah.
But they're socks. They've got like stitches on them. They've got the little toe.
Yeah, oh yeah, good point.
But maybe you do that above a chimney, I guess. Maybe that's a thing to create steam or cut down on steam or to prevent fires.
Humidify?
Yeah, maybe that's it. There's like a jug right below and there's water spilt all around.
Dude, imagine if we were born like 50 years earlier, we would understand so fucking much.
Oh my God, yeah. And we wouldn't be offended by everything.
Huh, not like these libs. And laying his finger aside of his nose, and giving a nod, up the chimney he rose. He sprang to his sleigh, to his team gave a whistle, and away they all flew, like the down on a thistle.
So his team are all football players, and they're all holding whistles?
Yeah, but you skip the first panel where he's going up an escalator out of the chimney.
Oh, yeah, that's good too.
With a thumb against his nose.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty good. I didn't notice the thumb. It's like a severed thumb.
Yeah. And is that a stork delivering presents as Santa Claus?
That would make sense. Yeah, he's got like a little fake beard on.
Yeah, it's kind of cute. But I heard him exclaim as he drove out of sight, "Merry Christmas to all, and to all a good night."
And we've got William Gaines as Santa Claus in a wheelchair. And he's got a gun and a bunch of pills. Apparently, he was known to like take diet pills and sleeping pills.
Yeah.
Out of his sack is all of the EC artists, like caricatures of the EC artists with their names.
Yeah, I couldn't help but wonder, like, wouldn't this be more fitting in any other issue, like this type of Christmas page? But I guess you're not going to do it in Mad, because a lot of those guys aren't Mad artists. I don't know. It just seems weird.
I think they recycled this page. For other things, for like Christmas cards and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he might have done it before, basically.
I absolutely love this page, though. I think it's so cool.
It's neat to see all the guys, yeah, and gals.
Because they got everybody.
It feels like Harvey Kurtzman's kind of in a spot of prominence because he's like all to himself and he's holding like a book and like a ship and a plane and like a pop gun. And that's because he was sort of notorious for like doing all this research on his like war stories. And he was like, he couldn't make enough money because he spent too much time trying to get all the machinery just right. He was kind of obsessed.
Yeah. He's that type of guy now who will watch an action movie and be like, no, that rifle's wrong. They didn't have that.
And I think you can kind of see the people he was caricaturing that he had a little bit more reverence for. So like Wally Wood, he's like in a space helmet and he's like an alien pouring out. And Severin, he's got dressed up with like a Native American feather.
Yeah.
Because he liked Westerns. And Elder came in, I think, inking Severin's work or penciling and Severin was inking. I can't remember. I think it was Severin was penciling and Elder was inking.
Well, look at Jack Davis. He's like got a golf club and Elder's drinking out of his cup.
These are the people that he knows something about. Where some of the other ones is just like Jack Kamen. He smokes a pipe.
Yeah. Bernard Krigstein. He wears glasses.
But they've all got their signatures there, which is nice.
I love pages like this.
This is like a particularly famous one. I actually just bought a Craig Yo book used. It's cartoons about cartoonists. And I wonder if this is in there.
Yeah.
So what do you think of this? I have some a bit of an afterword on this.
I liked it. I read through this whole issue and I feel like this is the same as all of the other ones in that they lacked the polish of the Mad comic.
Yeah.
The Mad comic, because Kurtzman was so controlling over every aspect of it, it felt like a unified vision.
Yeah.
Things were just very, very well thought out.
Yeah, the master's voice comes through, you know?
The master's voice, RCA. Yeah, and that's what this is missing. It's fun, though. I mean, it's like I said before, it's Will Elder, so it's like delightful to look at and read.
And he's writing it. So I just want to tell you that sort of what happened. So this was one of the most controversial EC things that they ever put out.
Yeah, why the hell would it be? It's public domain.
Okay, so here we go. So Gaines later recalled, the trouble we had on the Santa Claus story was Bill Elder. He had put a sign on the sleigh of Santa Claus, just divorced. Now, how do a bunch of iconoclastic atheist bastards like us know that Santa Claus is a saint and that he can't be divorced and that this is going to offend Boston? And offend Boston, it did. Panic was banned from sale in Massachusetts.
Wow.
Yeah, you couldn't sell it there because of it, because Saint Nick, he's a saint. He can't be divorced. And Gaines tried to retaliate by refusing to sell picture stories from the Bible in that state, but it turns out he actually hadn't published them in years, so that was kind of useless.
Yeah.
And you read the other stories in this, the Mickey Spillane spoof at the beginning, like the detective spoof. The femme fatale is revealed to be a cross-dresser at the end. That caused further controversy. And the NYPD showed up to the EC offices to arrest Gaines, I guess for obscenity. But EC's business manager, Lyle Stewart, took the blame and was arrested instead. And ultimately, the case was thrown out of court. But quite a reaction. And I think this is part of the allure of Panic, is the story of this first issue.
Yeah.
Because usually when you read about it, that's what you see is the cover of the first issue or a few panels of this comic.
That's funny, though. I mean, like, especially with the Mickey Spillane one. That one was fun because it's like he just goes around killing everybody and then explaining it away.
It's pretty good.
But what's funny about that is, like, that was so controversial. Now it would be controversial, but for, like, the totally opposite reason.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he was just standing his ground. But speaking of standing our ground, we need to be moving along because Santa's going to be coming down that chimney soon.
Don't give me no goose for Christmas, Grandma, for a goose you know is nervous as the deuce. Give me a Polly like Aunt Molly's or 2 tickets for the Follies, but please don't give me no goose, 'cause I can't take it. Please don't give me no goose, the corn is popping. Please don't give me no goose, I'm screaming madly. Please don't give me no goose.
Welcome to the begging and groveling department.
That's right. This is where we
get down on our knees, we open the flue, and we accept the Yule log from you.
we beg and grovel for the Yule log because we want you to do something for us. We want you to tell your friends, tell your loved ones. Maybe you've just donned your cap and are lying in bed next to your wife in her kerchief, and we want you to spring out of bed and interrupt your kids' visions of sugar plums to tell them about Podrzebie.
Yes. Hit like, hit subscribe, leave a comment down below even to the world's most irregularly recorded podcast.
We'll be back. We'll be back.
Hey, Kyle, where do they go if they want to get more of you and less of me?
Well, you can find me at my website at kylebridget.com or anywhere else I'm at Little Cozy Nostril, especially here on YouTube, where you're probably listening to this. I'll release it as a podcast too, but hopefully you're watching on YouTube, where I do a show called Canonically Crumb and another show called Pickin' and Flickin' in the Nostril Zone. And I do some other things in the Nostril Zone too. What about you, Patrick?
You can find me at youtube.com/flippinthrough. My one and only creative endeavor.
You also do printmaking.
Where every... Yeah, that's true. I need to get back into that. Every Saturday, I review an old issue of Mad Magazine, and every other Sunday, I do a live stream. And I have special guests like Kyle Bridget.
Well, Patrick, I want to wish you a happy, non-denominational Jesus Christ holiday. And that's about it. Where do we end?
Well, Kyle, a happy non-denominational Jesus Christ holiday to you too. We end by saying thank you so much for watching.
By the way, Ed, how's your mom?
Panxmas.
Panxmas. Panxmas.
Panopticon.
But
Panic
that's
at
not
the
Christmas.
disco.
It's got to
yeah.
be Christmas and Panic.